So, what if managing blood sugar could be as simple as reaching into your pantry? I mean, really. Today, we're diving into a source that makes some seriously powerful claims about three common nuts and their potential impact. We're going to break it all down. All right, so the source we're digging into today starts with this really big question, right? Could a snack, just a common, everyday snack, actually be a powerful tool for managing blood sugar? I mean, we're talking about something you might have in your kitchen right now. This one question, it's really the jumping off point for everything we're about to look at. And boom, here's the number that's meant to grab you. 30%. The claim is that these nuts can slash those dangerous glucose spikes you get after a meal by up to 30%. Now that is a huge claim, so let's see what the source actually presents to back that up. Okay, first step on the list from our source is the walnut. And it's not just called, a healthy snack. The source goes way further, calling it an undisputed champion for folks dealing with diabetes. So the source hones in on this one key number, 15. That's the walnut's glycemic index, or GI. Now, if you're not familiar, the glycemic index basically just ranks food on how quickly it'll raise your blood sugar. So a number as low as 15, well, that's incredibly low, which means walnuts are one of the safest foods out there if you're trying to avoid those big, nasty spikes. Okay, but this is where it gets really interesting, right? The source points to what it calls a nutritional trifecta. You've got protein, you've got fiber, and you've got this special plant-based omega-3 called alpha-linolenic acid. And according to the source, it's that specific combination that's the magic here, working together to help improve insulin sensitivity. And then the source lays out these pretty incredible claimed benefits. The whole argument is that eating them daily can lead to better long-term blood sugar control. That's what's measured by your HbA1c, which is basically just a 3-month average of your blood sugar. And on top of that, the source claims it can also help lower the risk of related issues with your heart and even your brain. And to make all this, actually doable, the source gives a super simple smoothie recipe. Now, the key detail here, the one thing they really emphasize, is soaking the walnuts overnight. They claim that this one step is what really maximizes nutrient absorption and helps keep those morning glucose levels nice and steady. All right, let's move on to nut number 2, pistachios. The source describes these as a kind of secret weapon, something that can actually transform how your body handles sugar. So if you thought a GI of 15 for walnuts was low, get this. The source claims pistachios have a glycemic index of just 10. I mean, that is astonishingly low. It puts them right up there as one of the absolute safest choices you can make to avoid blood sugar spikes. And this chart here really breaks down why. The source is pointing to that high protein and fiber content, which team up to slow down how fast you digest carbs. But it also highlights those healthy monounsaturated fats, which are supposedly a huge factor in making your insulin work better. So here's the really crucial takeaway from this slide. It's a two-pronged attack. The source reports that pistachios can help lower both your fasting glucose, that number you see first thing in the morning, and those big spikes you get after a meal. It even claims they can help your body produce more of its own insulin naturally. Pretty wild. And again, we get a really practical recipe, but this time for dinner. The whole idea behind this pistachio-crusted chicken is to give you a great-tasting, low-carb meal that's specifically designed to help you avoid those tricky blood sugar spikes that can happen in the evening. And that brings us to our third and final nut, almonds. Now, according to the source material, this is the most researched nut of the bunch, one that it says has the potential to literally rewire how your body metabolizes glucose. Okay, and this might be the most shocking claim of them all. A glycemic index of 0. A flat 0. What does that even mean? Well, according to the source, it means that almonds, as long as you're eating a reasonable amount, should cause practically no rise in your blood sugar at all. So what's the secret sauce here? Well, this slide shows what the source calls the almonds' power trio. First, you've got a ton of fiber, which slows down how fast sugar hits your system. Then, there's a crazy amount of vitamin E, which helps protect your blood vessels. And finally, a big dose of magnesium, which the source claims directly helps your insulin do its job better. And the claims for almonds are just, wow. The source points to a 32% reduction in those after-meal spikes and a potential drop in your long-term HbA1c of 0.4 points, which is a really significant number. But get this. It even claims they could reduce the risk of diabetic neuropathy, which is that terrible nerve damage from high blood sugar, by 40% over 5 years. And check this out. Here's a super interesting recipe idea for low-carb crackers. And notice that little detail again? Soak and peel the almonds. The source really insists this is a critical step for getting all the nutrients. It's just a really creative way to get almonds into your diet if you're tired of just, munching on them plain.
Okay, so we've seen the what, right? Walnuts, pistachios, almonds. But now the source material pivots to something it says is maybe even more important: the how you actually eat them, because it argues that your method is absolutely everything.
This table is a fantastic summary from the source. It puts everything side by side, so you can easily see the recommended daily doses for each nut. Super helpful for context. It also points out the calories and the one big, unique benefit for each one. Makes it super easy to compare them. Now, let's just zoom in on those calories for a second. See almonds there? 164 calories per ounce. Just keep that number in mind because it's really important for what we're about to discuss. Why does that number matter? Because the source warns over and over that these nuts are packed with calories. And if you overdo it, it can lead to weight gain, which, and here's the crazy part, can actually make your insulin resistance worse. So the big flashing neon sign here is portion control. And this slide really just lays it all out, like a do this, not that guide. On one side, you have what the source calls the best practices: soaking almonds, or even choosing pistachios still in the shell, just to slow yourself down. And on the other side, you have the common mistakes, like grabbing the roasted, salted kinds or mixing them with honey, which the source claims can totally negate any of the good you're trying to do. So after all of that, after looking at all this info from the source, what's the one big idea we're supposed to walk away with? Well, the source wraps everything up with this powerful quote: knowledge means nothing without implementation. I mean, it's a great point, right? Knowing all this stuff is one thing, but the source argues that the real change only happens when you actually put it into practice. And that really leaves us with this final question to think about. It's not about completely changing your life overnight. It's just asking, based on all this, is there one small change you could maybe consider exploring in your daily routine? It's just a prompt, to get you thinking about what this information might mean for you and your own journey.